Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Perpetual Chess. We have a longtime friend of the pod returning for the first time in some 5.5 years or something. Super excited to catch up with him. But first, as always, wanted to thank our sponsors, Chessable.com. Our guest knows a thing or two about Chessable.com. But if you're listening to this soon, from when it comes out, we're recording here on November 21st. It's going to come out in a handful of days. Be sure to check out the Black Friday sale on Chessable. They've got a lot of steep sales. Just saw Grandmaster Alexandra Kostyanyuk has a new course out on E4, C5, D4, not the Smith-Morra, though. After they take the punch, he goes queen takes D4. So every opening under the sun, basically. And if you sign up for Chessable Pro, be sure to use the link in the description. As for our guest, so first of all, he is a co-founder of Chessable.com, but among many other distinctions, he was the 2002 National High School Champion, also was a National Junior High School Champion. He is a popular and OG YouTuber with over 200,000 subs. He is a course author of multiple courses. His newest is with his new venture called Chessiverse. So the course is called Master the Scandinavian Defense. Our guest is quite known for the Scandinavian. And the site Chessiverse just has something like over 600 bots that you can practice against in various capacities. We will be talking about all these endeavors, but first and foremost, I am pleased to welcome back to the program International Master John Bartholomew. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Ben. Hey, guys, this is John.
That was on brand. Well done.
Yeah.
Well, John, since it's been so long and since you're so busy, we've got a lot to catch up on. You also should have mentioned you recently, to much fanfare, played in the LiChess Lone Wolf League, which is a league where you can play at home, community driven. You can practice against strong opponents. And you wrote an amazing blog post. You did a lot of good content around this particular experience, but you wrote a great blog post. Why don't we start, John? What was the impetus to play in this league as a semi-retired chess content creator?
Yeah, it's funny, very flattering, by the way, that you listed all those things that I've been up to the past several years, because I feel definitely semi-retired from competitive chess play, but I also feel more immersed in the chess community at large than ever before, even though I'm approaching 40 years old now. So yeah, the impetus to play the Lone Wolf League is that for many years I had been recommending this league to my students, my personal one-on-one students. I was always saying, if you're having trouble finding serious games online, or you don't have the time to go to over-the-board tournaments, this league that LiChess has is amazing for getting high-quality practice, because it's 11 weeks. You play one game per week. The schedule is flexible. They have a Slack channel where you can go and communicate with your opponent each week after the pairings come out, and you just find a mutually agreeable time to play. And you can even prepare for those games a little bit. So the whole process is amazing, and I think it's just excellent practice. And I thought, at some point I need to put my money where my mouth is and actually play the league myself. So I did.
Yeah, and so John's YouTube series takes you from start to finish, his preparation process, looking up the openings of his opponent, and then live streaming the games. They're 30 minutes with 30-second increment. Is that right, John?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. So it's just a very unique way to learn and see how a player of John's caliber actually approaches competition and how he actually thinks about positions. And I've got a few points I want to hit on from your blog post, John, but first I just wanted to read you. Usually we have questions from Patreon subs, but this one is just a comment from a friend of the pod, Ed Daly, who just wrote in to say he just wanted to thank you for the Lone Wolf videos. He says, I still can't believe I watched 11 2.5-hour plus videos start to finish. They were very educational. And he wonders if you're planning to do this again at some point. He realizes it's a huge commitment, but he thinks they were well received.
Yeah, thanks to Ed, and thanks to you, by the way, for having me on for a third time. I don't know if I said that at the beginning of the pod. But yeah, I was joking because the total runtime for that series, that one season that I played in, is like 3 Godfather series.
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. You don't really think about it when you're into it, because you're just going with the flow. But that was very nice of him to comment on that. And one thing I did is I actually showed my preparation for these games. So I typically try to carve out like 20 to 30 minutes directly before each game, like right before each game, where I pulled up my opponent for the round. I went through their recent games on LiChess. I did a little database work and tried to predict like what would happen in the game, which, as you know, is very much an inexact science.
Yeah.
And I would say I was batting like maybe 25%.
Yeah.
in terms of predicting.
Yeah, which gets to one of the opening conclusions that you drew. But I did want to cop to John. I pride myself on preparing for all of my interviews. Like if I'm reading someone and they have a new book out, I always read the book. But I didn't watch the Godfather trilogy. I didn't watch the full
Oh, dang.
25 hours of your recaps. I have to
How dare
admit,
you, Ben?
I watched some though. Now, so as for your observation, so again, I'll link to this post. It was incredibly insightful. What John learned from the LiChess 45 League, and I just wanted to hit on a few highlights. So one thing you mentioned was self-talk. You wrote the consistency and quality of your thought process determines your success in chess. Now, you already said it quite eloquently in the post, but could you elaborate on that a bit, John?
Yeah, I wanted to make this blog post after I played the league because for me it was this return to semi-competitive chess, and I really wanted to reflect on what I had learned from that experience. And that self-talk, it's not something I see discussed by really too many higher rated chess players, but chess players in general, maybe. But having that ongoing dialogue with yourself is so key. And just being curious and playful with the questions that you're asking yourself and the types of iteration that you're doing mentally to sort through candidate moves and eventually come up with a move or continuation that you're going to play. So I kind of stressed in that blog post that it's not really so important exactly what questions you ask yourself. Some common questions might be, what was the purpose of my opponent's last move? What are 2 or 3 moves that I'm thinking of? And then, right before you're going to play a move, is my move safe? Like a little blunder check. So you could have some variation on those questions. It's not so important. But I think the important thing is to have some sort of dialogue and process that you're using to ground yourself on each and every move and structure your thoughts.
Yeah, and also to be on the lookout. Sometimes we can be prone to self-flagellation. If we make a mistake, we regret a move we made in the game. Or conversely, if we feel like we're winning, we can get a little over our skis and start, planning our dinner and stuff before the game's over. So yeah, just being conscious of your mental approach throughout, I think is good advice, but specifically what you highlighted about thought process.
Yeah, it just keeps you grounded at all times.
Yeah. Another highlight, achieving consistent command of the clock is probably the most important intangible skill a competitive player can acquire.
Yeah, another thing, I mean, I've struggled with this throughout my chess career. I have perfectionist tendencies, and I know for a fact that that manifests itself in poor time management for me a lot of times. So another thing that's not discussed very often, because it's one of those things that doesn't show up in the box score, so to speak, is time management. And I highlighted a couple things in that blog post. One is just a really practical thing. Every chess player has been in this circumstance. If you're examining just one continuation, like literally one candidate move, but you're worried about the repercussions of that move a couple moves down the line, and you're calculating that in your head, and you're like, oh, well, if I play that move, my opponent might respond with this, or they might respond with this, but you're always going back to that one move that you're going to play. I think you just got to play that move right away.
Yeah.
And worry about the consequences later. And I can't tell you how many times I've just got stuck on that one move, spinning my wheels. And then I eventually play it, and I'm like, why did I spend 5 or 10 minutes on that?
Yeah, and so often it'll be like a variation. You'll be spinning your wheels on a particular variation where that's not the sequence that plays out, even though you do end up playing the first move.
Yes. And that happens so often, multiple times in this league specifically. My opponent played a move that I hadn't even considered or rated very highly.
Yeah, and John, so again, this interview is on November 21st. I actually the one I did last night will be out after your interview, but I interviewed someone that turns out to be a former student of yours, FM Nick Mata.
Shout out to Nick.
Yeah, who's had amazing rating progress in his 20s. And Nick and I were talking about time management. Do you have like stock advice? And because he struggled with it a lot too, do you have stock advice you give to your students who do struggle with it?
Yeah, and it's tough because since I struggle with this myself, I feel like I'm trying to give myself advice whenever I
Right.
talk about it. The main thing is just to try to audit your time management after the fact and be very honest with where you have leaks in your game, which is pretty much what I tried to do with this post. I do think there's some value in actually training time management proactively, like the old Botvinnik approach, where you try to play training games where you exclusively worry about the clock and hardly at all, if at all, about the position itself. And I have a series on YouTube called Using the Clock as a Weapon, where I play 5 3+0 blitz games each session. And I try to do exactly that. And even though the goal of the series is to follow the Botvinnik advice, I still struggle to do that at times.
Yeah. Yeah, very relatable. I'm also getting ready to interview John Donaldson out, who has a new book out on Fischer. And he's talking in this book, he says Fischer was very good at managing the clock. And he says that Fischer thought that the reason that he excelled at that when he saw a lot of even his contemporary GMs struggle was because growing up, even before he had chess clocks, they would play what they called 10-second chess, where you always had to move within 10 seconds. So he just felt like because that was ingrained in him from a young age, it helped him a lot, even when he got more time in his games.
Yeah, I've always been jealous of players who can do that.
Yeah,
Like they're a metronome or something.
yeah, yeah. But apparently, and Nick actually, when we talked, highlighted some training methods that listeners can tune in for in a week or two down the line.
Nice.
Next highlight, John, is you need to have multiple openings in your arsenal. So this one, some people would disagree with. Why did you come to this conclusion?
Yeah, I think this is more advice for the day and age that we live in as chess players. I think the type of player who was maybe more Karpovian, if you will, like at a high level, where Karpov had a pretty narrow opening range for a large part of his very illustrious career. And he was just an expert in those lines. Like he played the black side of the Caro-Kann and the Nimzo Indian extremely well. And even when his opponents knew that was coming, he was just very confident in his knowledge. And more recently, there's a player like MVL, who everyone knows is a big Najdorf expert, Grinfeld expert. But I think that type of player just isn't likely to have success these days as much as the player who is able to experiment and, most importantly, able to surprise their opponent a bit and adapt to the circumstances. And I think even guys like MVL have started moving away from that style at the highest level.
Yeah, but what about at the amateur level?
Yeah, and this is pretty high level advice for amateurs. Even mastering one opening against E4 and D4, let's say, or one starting move from the white pieces is going to be a challenge. So I would say that advice, I think I even mentioned in the post, it's more applicable to the like 1800 plus level.
Yeah,
I think that's when you should start thinking about mixing it up a little bit, and you need to start thinking about the meta aspects of preparation, like not only what am I going to play, but what are my opponents likely to play in response to what they know that I'm playing.
yeah, yeah. Good advice for sure. And one more highlight from this post, and this one you said, if you take a single thing away from the post, this should be it. And this is, I hope it's a push to play games with longer time controls. Why?
That's just the best way to improve. 100%. I mean, I would take the player who's committed to playing longer time controls regularly versus the player who's committed to studying any day. I think the player who actually puts their knowledge and skills into practice is going to come out on top. But it's really that process of iteration, playing a long game, maybe with some preparation in advance, and then analyzing the game afterwards and drawing some conclusions, some takeaways. I mean, this is no great secret to anyone who's watched Ben's podcast over the years. I'm sure there's been hundreds of guests who've said the same thing, but doing that and constantly challenging yourself with the opposition that you're playing is just always going to be the tried and true method for improvement, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It always bears repeating, even if it's been said many times. And yeah, the lessons are all in your games. I mean, because then you can really isolate the errors that are specific to your own thought process, much more so than reading someone else's observations or even training, tactics that may not come up all that often within the scope of a 50-move chess game.
Yeah, and it's just being honest with yourself and admitting that you can't study your way to chess improvement.
Yeah,
I don't know of a single person who's been able to do that. At some point, you have to play, and you got to play serious games against serious opposition and challenge yourself that way.
well
That's going to
said.
accelerate your improvement.
Well said, for sure. And one other chess improvement highlight I wanted to get to. And this one actually is not from your LiChess article. This is from an interview you did with Kevin Skull at Chess Journeys that I also found highly enjoyable. And you highlighted a point that I hadn't heard mentioned that often, although I did talk about it with Nick Mata. So I apologize to the listeners who will be hearing me repeat this in a future episode. But anyway, this is a quote from what you said to Kevin. You were talking about why adults might struggle to improve as compared to kids. You said immersion is everything. You can't go just down one avenue in chess. You need to engage with it from every angle you can. And I really felt like that's another key point that doesn't necessarily get emphasized as much. So how do you react to your comment, John?
Yeah, I guess that one's just driven from being around chess players and observing chess players for many years. You get this sense that they're always open to immersing themselves in the game in any way they can. You know, pulling up a high-level game from like the ongoing World Cup on their phone and, you know, looking at it without the engine first, reading from a book. Like, yes, people still read physical chess books these days. Reviewing a game that a friend has played. Yeah, just being curious about a puzzle you see like on Twitter, X, whatever. So just basically treating chess like a language, I think, where you're not trying to learn it in isolation. You know, you're not just logging on to one app and learning like your grammar. You're not just doing tactics, you know, on your chess.com or LiChess app. You're trying to open yourself up to any way that you can get more exposure to chess itself.
Yeah, and also I think it highlights the importance of constancy. You know, like that's one thing when you're a kid, like you know, you were a top scholastic player, so I'm sure you experienced this, but you're just doing such a high volume of chess that I think adults struggle to replicate. And as someone myself, I mean, obviously I'm doing chess work all the time, but in terms of like actively playing online and stuff like that, when I fall in and out of it, I can see the effects on my game. You know, every time I come back, it's like, you know, weeks to start to feel like you're in form again. And if you're just always in form, I think it has kind of a compounding effect.
Yeah, it's like keeping those hinges greased at all times, you know, being ready to go. You're not going to be as sharp, of course, if you're not playing tournaments or regular competition, but you can at least keep those hinges greased.
Yeah. You ready for a GM level segue, John?
Let's do it.
And if you are looking for a way to practice, John has launched a new chess site called Chessiverse.com. Well, not launched, but kind of two gentlemen in Sweden, correct me if I'm wrong, founded it. And then you and your original co-founder of Chessable, David Cramley, quickly signed on. But what else should listeners know about Chessiverse?
Yeah, so Chessiverse is a platform where we have over 600 plus human-like bots. And anyone can log on and create an account and play against these bots and even get a rating against these bots. And the idea is to provide a platform where people can practice anything they want in chess, openings, positions, full games, without the pressure of actually playing human opposition. Because I don't know if you found this in speaking to guests over the years, but there's actually a pretty large segment of the chess playing population who want to play chess and want to practice, but they have nerves and they have stress around actually playing human opposition.
Yeah.
Or maybe it doesn't work for their schedule for whatever reason. So we have a platform where people can play against these bots and do so without much worry, but even get a rating at the same time that can roughly tell them what their strength is.
Yeah, and these are neural net based with basically distinct personalities and repertoires for all of the 600 bots.
That's right. Yeah, so we have, I think, about 550 bots who do have each distinct repertoires and playing styles. That's one approach that we've taken that's maybe a bit different from other platforms with bots. And then we have 100 bots, I think, at the moment that we call them statistical bots, that if you play a statistical bot who's 1,500, it will play openings proportionally to what you would expect from human opposition at 1,500 level.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So we have a couple different ways people can engage with the bots stylistically.
I got to tell you, John, I played a handful of games and those bots were strong, man. They were crushing me. I know you've told your story in the past, even here on Perpetual Chess, of you came up and you mentioned, I think in one of the videos you did around Chessiverse, you came up practicing against computers, against like a tabletop computer in particular. Mephisto, was it?
Excalibur. Yeah.
Excalibur, sorry. So for you, it's like ingrained in you. But for me, I feel like I always play terribly against computers, and the bot, it does seem more human-like, and it doesn't. I wasn't super conscious that I was playing an engine, but I don't know if the rating system is off or I just played terrible. But these 1,800 bots were beating me.
Yeah, we're always tweaking the rating system a bit based on feedback that we get. I'd say right now, and I think this is in our FAQ as well, they probably most closely correspond to LiChess Blitz ratings.
Wow.
But you're going to see a bit
be
of
losing to 1,800 bots.
Yeah, we might have to get you some coaching, Ben.
Yeah, exactly.
Get back up and running. But no, that's not surprising if there's a bit of variation. I'd be curious if you were to play, 100 games or something.
Yeah,
where-
I'll keep
where you
at
would
it because
fall.
I've been learning some new openings, so I'm definitely excited, particularly for the opening sparring element that it offers. But John, we got a bunch of questions from longtime Patreon sub and your fellow Minnesotan Peter Newhall related to Chessiverse. So let's dive into them one by one. The first question from Peter is: in what ways is Chessiverse useful, or does it improve upon current methods for chess improvement? Is it useful for advanced players, say rated 2000 plus or master level?
Yeah, I think it's most useful in that sandbox way that I was discussing, where you can log in, play games. I myself often play games against the Chessiverse bots where I just want to get into an interesting middle game, but I might be like checking my email or tabbing away at some point. So just being able to go in and play a game, let's say unlimited time control if you want, although you can play any time control, and just purely try to learn something from the game itself and not worry as much about the competitive elements. That's, I think, the biggest benefit of the bot implementation. And also in that way, just not having to worry about cheating too. It must be said in this day and age, even though I think cheating concerns for the average player on, the major platforms are a little overblown. That is a big advantage that Chessiverse has, is that, you're playing against bots. So
Yeah, you don't need to worry about if they're using an engine. You know they are.
right, exactly. They're using their neural net.
Yeah.
For advanced players, I think there will still be some value, and it'll be interesting to see how the experience for advanced players develops over the years. Because for the moment, I would say it's most useful for amateur players below 2,000. But we recently rolled out courses as well, which I know we're probably going to talk about soon. And being able to spar with the bots in the courses is something that we're really excited about.
Yeah, that's a good feature for sure. And I feel like I can glean your answer based on what you just said. But Peter's next question was: do you feel it can replace playing humans for chess improvement online? At
No,
least?
I don't think so, and I wouldn't hope so either. I'm a big fan of just regular old chess playing against a human.
Yeah.
A big part of the experience. So we look at this as a supplement to people engaging with chess and just having another means of doing so. You mentioned like my experience with the Excalibur program back when I was a kid. That was my first real chess opponent, Ben.
Yeah.
I started at level 0 or level 1, whatever it was, and I worked my way up through level 72, which was the endpoint for that program. And I played that thing probably every 2 or 3 days for like a year and a half.
Wow. I love that.
And
It's one of the great chess origin stories, John.
yeah, and many of your viewers will remember the old Chessmaster software,
Mm-hmm.
the grizzled like wizard guy.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great example. Like I look back on that stuff with a lot of nostalgia, and I know it brought me personally a lot of chess improvement. And I think many people can say the same in chess.
Yeah, for sure. Peter's third out of 4 questions: are Chessiverse bots really more human-like than other bots and engines available on other platforms?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have done a lot of human pruning, myself and our main developer, my other Chessiverse co-founder, Jonathan, who's amazing, by the way. So he talks about on the FAQ for our site, this move curation that we've been doing with the bots. Because interestingly, I'll give you a little bit of tidbit here, but getting the low-rated bots to play like a human is way more challenging than getting the higher-rated bots to play like humans. Maybe that doesn't come as a surprise to some, but you're fighting against this built-in bias against bots, where we just judge bots and what they do differently than what we judge humans to do at a similar rating level.
Mm-hmm.
So if an 800 rated human randomly moves their king in the opening or blunders their queen on move 5, we're just going to chalk that up to them being a human 800 rated bot or a
Player,
human.
yeah.
But when a bot does the same thing, people might regard it suspiciously, like, oh, and they instantly think, well, no human would ever do that, right? They wouldn't play king e7 on move 3.
Right.
But some very low rated humans, players learning the game, will do that.
Yeah. And we're kind of in an unprecedented time, I feel like, whereas even 10 years ago, you would have had to guess for the most part to see how people play across the rating spectrum. But now your programmers have access to stuff like the LiChess database where they can literally see like the whole way up the ladder, what kinds of mistakes players make. And I'm sure are able to improve the bots or make them more human-like based on that.
Yeah. And like I said, we're monitoring feedback from our users very closely. And we've actually programmed their feedback into how the bots are being implemented.
Nice.
And I would also just give a big shout out to the Maya bots on LiChess.
Yeah.
Those bots are awesome. So I think if people enjoy playing against the Maya bots, they probably also enjoy the Chessiverse bots. We're a big fan of them as well.
Yeah, shout out to Maya. Next and final question from Peter. He notes that with your new Scandinavian course on Chessiverse, it could be conceived as a direct competitor to Chessable. So he's curious if the newer versions of Chessable ownership did not greenlight these type of ideas when you were still working with them.
Yeah, there was no discussion about that with the Chessable team. So I am a co-founder of Chessable. I co-founded it in 2016, I believe, with the guy that I'm currently working with
Yeah, I
on
interviewed you
Chessiverse
like
too.
right around then,
Yeah,
he
David
told me this
Framley.
new company. Yeah. Yeah, I interviewed
Yeah.
David too. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was involved with Chessable for several years, and then it got bought by Play Magnus in 2019. And I've always been on good terms with the Chessable team, and I have courses there, and I use the platform pretty much every day. I definitely wish them well. But for me, it's not about competition per se. It's just being able to do something new and interesting. I've always had like a entrepreneurial mindset, and being able to also build the course that I was working on for 2 years on Chessiverse was a big reason for me to join the platform, in addition to just liking the bot approach and the people involved in the site, like Jonathan, our developer.
Yeah, that makes sense. And do you mind saying, John, like I'm always curious with these chess startups, like have they gotten outside funding or are they bootstrapping it? What's the approach from a business perspective?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're bootstrapping it. So there's just 4 of us on the main team, and we have other people helping us out, some freelancers and whatnot. But it's 4 of us. We're not looking to raise money at the moment, but maybe in the future. But we want to see if it's a self-sustaining business and how much traction we get by ourselves. There's a lot less pressure that way versus
Yeah.
raising money from the jump.
Yeah, makes sense. And it's a subscription model?
Correct. Subscription model. You can do monthly or yearly or lifetime. And also we got the courses that we just rolled out too.
Yeah, and speaking of which, so the Scandi, your magnum opus, you've been famous for the Scandi for, a decade or something now. So as you dug into the actual creation of the course, and I had this in my outline somewhere, but how many hours, John, is the video? 16, was it?
Oh my God, way too many hours. So yeah, I spent over 1,000 hours working on this course. And I know this because I documented it
It is
from the
16,
beginning.
yeah. Yeah, 16
And
hours, 225,000 words.
I'm going to write another blog post, newsletter post, similar to the one I wrote about the LiChess Lone Wolf experience. And I'm going to title it, What I Learned from Spending 1,000 Hours Writing a Chess Opening Course. Because I know you've had many authors of courses and books over the years on perpetual chess, and they kind of get into what being a chess book or course author means. But I don't think people really understand like what you're actually doing
Right.
when you say you're spending all this time writing a course. So I want to actually get into that a bit more in the post that I'm going to write.
Yeah, I look forward to that. I mean, I did one Chessable course, and I think my video ended up being about 7 hours, and I couldn't believe how exhausting it was. And
Yeah.
obviously, what you're doing, and I was, it's kind of when mine was like puzzle based and then some illustrative games. So it's kind of like a closed system. There's a finite number of things, but with an opening course, it's like you can always look at one more move.
Oh,
So
yeah. 100%. And knowing when to like wrap up your repertoire. And
Right.
when the line that you're looking at is good enough, that's so difficult. And also it's just the fact that, so my course is 225,000 words. And then there's another like 59,000 words in the model games that I chose.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like video and other stuff, like 16 hours of video. So I was just thinking about this, like on a basic level, when someone's writing a chess course, you're not only writing like all those words, you're of course like analyzing all the lines too.
Yeah.
Like that's so it's even hard to equate writing a chess course to like writing a book, let's say, because it's like apples and oranges. You've got the extra, burden of analyzing the lines and making sure those are good,
Yeah.
and then writing about those.
Yeah. And the Scandinavian, um, I- engines have made everything playable, but historically it doesn't have like the rock solid reputation of, say, double king pawn. But as you dug deep, and by the way, for listeners, so this is the queen a5 line specifically of the Scandinavian: e4 d5, pawn takes, queen takes, knight c3, queen a5. As you did dig into the engine analysis, like, did you have a lot of new discoveries, John?
Yeah, and all right, here's my pitch for the Scandinavian. So the nice thing about the Scandi is that after e4 d5, the only theoretically critical move for white is to capture the pawn, e takes d5.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Everything else is fine for black. You still see people playing e5, knight c3, whatever, but white pretty much has to take the pawn on d5 if they want any chance for an advantage. And after queen takes d5, white's usually going to play knight c3, develop and attack the queen. And there, black has a few different major options. I wrote a course on queen d8 for Chessable back in 2016. There's queen d6, which is like the Tivyaka variation. That's interesting. But yeah, this queen a5 move, I've found hits the sweet spot between solidity and dynamic potential. Like the queen is out. She's not typically interfering with your development on a5. She could swing to other parts of the board, like maybe over to the king side in some cases. Yes, the queen can be attacked further. In many of the lines that white plays, white tries to do exactly that. But it's a nice streamlined way to get positions where I really feel like a student of a course like this, or a practitioner of this opening, is going to be fighting on their own territory in a predictable way much more often than other openings. Because if you take like e4, e5, or the Sicilian, Caro-Kann French, whatever, it's hard to say after a few moves in those openings that you're more likely to be on your own footing than white is. But I think in the Scandi, like, you can realistically expect to have that happen because you're going to get that position after queen a5 in a majority of your games after e4, d5. So even though theory hasn't regarded that as quite as sound as some of those other openings, it's still plenty playable. I believe all the way up to practically super GM level. And I've written my course as such to make sure that it's sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that practical advantage, just getting positions you're more comfortable with than your opponent, and that most importantly, you like to play. I think that's very underestimated in chess, and also something that's not often discussed. Like, that is, to me, that's the baseline criteria for an opening that you're thinking about playing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you've been playing it for, I mean, I know you play other defenses as well, but you've been playing it for all this time. Has the theory changed much since you've been like the Scandinavian spokesperson for a decade now?
Yeah, it's changed a lot, and I get into this in the course, but there's a game that Ruslan Ponomariov won in 2003, and it was in the queen a5 main line at the time. This variation where white plays a quick knight c3, bishop c4, d4, bishop d2, and then knight d5, and hits that black queen on a5. The queen retreats to d8, and then white takes on f6. You don't have to edit that in after the fact, by the way. But those who study this opening will know what variation.
It'll be on YouTube.
Nice. So basically that line for, I would say, the past, 20 plus years since Ponomaria played that game, that's been kind of under a cloud for black. And it involves black playing an early c6. They used to often play the queen a5 Scandinavian with an early c6. And that position, that game, consistently just led to pretty good results for white. Like, white was winning like 2/3 of games, and I tried to defend that position myself as black for many years. But then black players realized that you can actually withhold the c6 move against that particular move order. You can play knight f6, bishop f5, e6, and then when the white bishop hits d2, you play bishop b4, and you willingly allow a trade of the bishop for the knight. And that's the move order I talk about in the course. I know it won't make as much sense here in the abstract.
Well, I'm with you. Where does the queen go? B6 then, or
queen goes back to b6? That's right. And sometimes you can play knight c6. Very often you'll play knight c6, make use of that square instead of putting a pawn there, and attack the white pawn on d4.
So it sounds like the kind of line where you need to know it. You know, you can't mess around, but if you know it, you're okay.
Yeah, exactly. And in writing this course, stressing move orders was a very big thing for me. So much so that I made a move order guide specifically to help people as they work through this course. Because, yes, I think to play any modern opening successfully, you have to be very adept with move orders. And the Queen A5 Scandinavian is one that's going to reward you if you know your move orders really well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so getting back to Chessiverse more broadly, like, I know you've been making a lot of videos for them. What's sort of your day-to-day like? I know you're a busy guy with your YouTube channel and doing lessons, finishing this course. What sort of work do you do for the company?
Yeah, you know, in the early days of a startup like this, you wear a ton of hats. So I'm customer service.
Oh, wow.
I'm on our Discord all the time, like answering questions. I'm very closely working with Jonathan, our main developer. Him and I probably spent, I don't know, 50 plus hours just talking back and forth, having calls about how we wanted to design the course experience, because this is the very first course on the site. And I made some videos actually on the course landing page about that. And we designed it in a very purposeful way. Like, we weren't just throwing features together or trying to imitate something that's out there on the market. There are very specific things that we did that took a lot of back and forth, because I feel it's worth that time and energy to present courses and present opening courses, particularly the right way.
So what's an example of something that you had to wrangle with, but you felt like was worthwhile?
You know, the biggest challenge, because my course is so large, the biggest challenge was presenting a PGN or tree-based repertoire in a single browser navigable window that was also very fast. So, you know, many of your viewers will be familiar with Chessbase.
Mm-hmm.
Great software. It's been around forever, but it is software. It's not something you can pop open on your browser and just use very comfortably. So we wanted to make an experience where someone can navigate a very large tree, which this repertoire is. It's presented as a tree that you can navigate down, E4, D5, etc., and do so very quickly. And like unfolding all the variations, seeing all the text, all the different lines that I go into, because I mean, in a course like this, there's some serious rabbit holes, like probably lines no one will ever navigate to be honest. I frequently have this thought as an author, like,
right,
you spend 6 hours on a variation and then you get done with it. You're like satisfied with your conclusion. You're like, I don't think there might be like 1 or 2 people ever that are going to actually click down this line.
right.
But we wanted to present it in the right way. So when they do navigate to those lines, if and when that happens, it's a good experience for them.
Yeah.
I don't think there's too many people in chess who've had a similar experience, because, I mean, first of all, the number of people who work in chess software or chess startups is very small. And this is kind of specific to chess courses and how you're presenting a huge amount of material too.
Yeah. And I know for any opening course creator, there's that kind of tug where you want it to be comprehensive. You want, if people have a question, you want them to be able to find the answer. But on the other hand, you would like to avoid overwhelming the user and letting them have some guidance on focusing on what they're most likely to play. So what did you do in terms of striking that balance?
Yeah, so it's a great question, because I firmly believe with a large opening course or resource, the user should be able to navigate anywhere in the course at any time and have a bird's eye view of it at any moment. And for all its advantages, Chessable, and you know, me being involved in it for many years, I never quite felt like large opening courses were quite suited to spaced repetition in the way that they're presented on Chessiverse, where there's chapters and lots of variations. but
On
everything feels
Chessiverse or
kind of
Chessable?
Chessable. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if I said Chessiverse, Chessable back and forth, I apologize. But yeah, on Chessable, I think smaller and medium-sized courses work better than large courses
Hmm.
because with a large resource, um, I really do think you need to be able to navigate anywhere at any time, be able to see it all at once, which sounds like a lot, but the mere process of navigating a resource like that is going to help you learn the material better. I would say it's almost a prerequisite. If you're trying to learn variations in the abstract and they're all disconnected, it's very tough to get your head around a large repertoire.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was a big shift mentally, and just emphasizing that holistic nature of learning a course. That's one thing we
Yeah.
wanted to do.
That makes sense. And so the course has been out, what, like 3 weeks now, John?
Yeah, we did a early access release. I think at the beginning of October or mid October, and now the course itself has been out for almost 2 weeks to
Okay.
broader access.
And how's the feedback been so far?
It's been great. Yeah, we've had just a ton of positive feedback, people popping in our Discord. Um, very little in terms of bugs and big picture things that have gone wrong, which is great because, you're always worried about that with the first course on a site. So, yeah, sincere thanks to everyone who's given feedback or purchased the course.
And I imagine it's similar to Chessable courses in that if someone does find like a bad variation or a move that you missed, you're able to update it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we use a PGN based approach, which I think makes it easier for authors to upload stuff.
Hmm.
And we're looking for authors too. So if anyone watching this wants to reach out,
Yeah, I was going to
please let
mention.
us
So
know.
do you have other courses actively in the works already? Either you personally or the Chessiverse team?
Yeah, we're in some discussions and we have some ideas, but nothing concrete at the moment. And part of that is because we're kind of monitoring the feedback and what direction we want to go with authors
Right.
and whatnot. But yeah,
Yeah.
we've got some interesting potential plans.
Yeah. And what about more broadly, like the vision of the company? 600 bots is staggering already. Is like, what are the UI priorities of the developing team?
I'd say the guiding principle is always going to be making the bot experience and playing the bot experience as good as possible. And we've implemented that with the courses, by the way. One thing I should mention is a major distinguishing feature is that you can play any line in the course against our bots right on platform and spar against them. And it'll actually help you learn the lines too using assisted hints if you want.
Oh,
Like it'll show
cool.
you the move or show you the piece.
Nice.
So that's a cool way to actually engage with the material versus just purely learn it. But yeah, the guiding principle for the site, I think, will always be to try to make the course experience as good as possible. And I was thinking about it, I think from our perspective, it almost feels like being an umpire in a baseball game, where if you're doing a good job, people are not
Right.
complaining about the bots not feeling human.
Yeah. Yeah. You only get negative feedback.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Most of it is like that. So for the moment, we haven't had many negative things to say about the bots, which tells me that the bots do feel human-like for the most part.
That's all you can hope for. And John, as we wrap up, we were briefly discussing before we started recording. You were friends with Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky.
Yeah.
Listeners may have heard an interview that will just have come out with Peter Giannatos, but you yourself did a really heartfelt, excellent tribute on your YouTube channel about your friendship with Dan. You also wrote a great tribute on Twitter, just like screenshot of whatever 500 words about Daniel. But I sensed in your YouTube, because you wrote like a lengthy follow-up comment, that there were a couple things you'd wished you'd added. Was there anything that you felt you didn't get across that you wanted to in recording that tribute to your friend?
I mean, he's such a giant of the game, right?
Yeah.
As I said in that post, like there's things that just come to mind all the time when I think about him and just what a remarkable person he was. And actually, I have a little story for your viewers. I don't think I've shared this anywhere. So I don't remember if this was 2023 or 2024, and we're recording this in 2025. So a year or two ago, let's say, I was in Charlotte for an event, and Daniel played in this event too. I think it was like their Memorial Day weekend, Rapid and Blitz or something. And after the event, Peter Giannatos, the owner of the Charlotte Chess Center, he had a number of the participants and Charlotte Chess Center people over at his parents' place. His mom and dad are awesome. So we all went over to his parents' place in Charlotte, and Daniel was there. Alexander Bortnick was there. Peter was there, of course. Dina Belankaya, lots of people. And it was amazing because we were talking about the old Internet Chess Club days, ICC. And there's a website. I don't know if people know this, but there's a Finnish website that has all the rating records for ICC time controls. So if you want to check like who was the highest rated player ever at Blitz time control on ICC, this Finnish website like has a record of that. And it lists like all the usernames of the top players, like the top 50 or 100, whatever, in those different categories. So I had the idea, we were talking about these ICC days. I was like, you know what? I'm going to pull up this Finnish website on my phone, and I'm going to ask Daniel and Bortnick how many of these usernames they actually know and know the players. So I pulled it open and I was listing guys like, you know, okay, who's Hawkeye? Who is that?
I know that one.
yeah, Roland Schmaltz.
Yep,
German
legend.
Grandmaster.
Yeah, bullet
Or
legend.
who was Berta? Do you know that one?
I don't know.
That's Ulf Anderson.
Oh, wow. Unbelievable.
And these guys, Daniel and Bortnick, they were sitting next to each other on the couch. I was across the table from them. They were honestly, honest to God, probably batting like 95% of these usernames that I would throw out. Like
and
I would throw
would have been like
stuff.
10, 8 to 10 or something when, in the ICC's heyday. Yeah.
Right? Like he was probably cutting his teeth on these players.
Right.
But their recall and their ability to just appreciate chess and chess players was really on full display that night. And we had a great time. We probably did this for like an hour. I think I exhausted like all the lists. And it was kind of like the Capitals game, or
right. Yeah.
These
Which
games
he also,
play.
I'm sure, was dominant at.
Yes. I think Daniel, he told me at one point, and I tried to quiz him on it. He knew every single Grandmaster in the entire world.
Oh,
like in the FIDE database. Every current Grandmaster. And you could give him like a country. You could say like, okay, well, Portugal, name me some Portuguese Grandmasters. And he'd name you like, whatever, like 4 or 5 of them easily.
Do you think he just had a photographic memory, or did he make a conscious effort with something like that?
I think it's probably a little of both. I think his memory was exceptional for sure, as you see with a lot of top players. I mean, it kind of sounds like you're making a legend of someone after they're gone, but we all know Daniel was a legend before he passed.
Yeah.
I firmly believe he could have become a super GM if he wanted to.
Yeah.
I talked about this with my friend Robbie Adamson. We discuss this all the time. We've never seen personally a more talented player than Danya. So I was always very impressed with his natural talent, but also he was a super hard worker. In anything he did, he always gave 100%. I mean, people know the stories by now. He published a book when he was 14.
Yeah, amazing.
Like, unbelievable.
A good book.
Yeah, and then another one, I think, a couple years later, before he even graduated high school.
Yeah.
So I do think a lot of it was natural talent, but his capacity for work and really like his appreciation for chess and chess players. Like he loved chess history. That goes back to that immersion stuff I was talking about.
Yeah,
Ben.
yeah.
Like he's a prime example of that. Like I think he really appreciated every facet of the game, and he made the most of his time in chess.
Yeah, I loved the chess history tangents on chess.com because they were unexpected for me. Chess.com obviously is trying to present to as broad an audience as possible, and skews younger in terms of who their announcers are, rather than some of the, someone like Svidler who grew up in the Soviet culture and obviously has stories for days. But Danya would just always work them in, and I know a decent amount of chess history, but I would always learn something from him.
Yeah, and so effortless too, it seemed like. It's just I would frequently stop streaming because I saw that Daniel was streaming and I'd want to go watch him.
Yeah, I saw I saw that. That amazed me. I hadn't thought of like, I think of streamers as sort of streaming to the broader populace, but this idea that all these masters and international masters and GMs were tuning in, I hadn't really thought about before you mentioned that.
Yeah, he was really like, your chess player's favorite chess player.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he felt that way to a lot of people.
Yeah, well said. Well, last thing, John. So again, a lot of listeners will have heard my conversation with Peter Giannatos mentioning the fundraiser, but I saw that you made a generous donation as well. What moved you about the fundraiser that Charlotte's doing to honor Daniel's legacy?
Yeah, so big ups to the Charlotte Chess Center for putting that together with the help of the Naroditsky family. I just love the initiatives that they outline with the Memorial Fund and what they want to do. So, two things: they want to have an annual Blitz and Rapid event in Daniel's memory, and that would be an ambitious project because, from what I understand, they want to make it available to not only professionals but also amateur players.
Yeah.
So, I think that has a lot of potential
Yeah, that
to
could be
be.
great. Yeah.
I don't think they're trying to rival the World Blitz and Rapid Championship, but if they could make something that has a level of prestige at those time controls, Daniel would love that because
Yeah.
he loved nothing more than just to play blitz chess in particular.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then there's an endowment, a fund aspect too, to support talented chess players who want to maybe try to make a living in chess or pursue it without as many financial concerns.
Yeah.
And I think Daniel was a Samford Fellowship winner, I
Yeah, he
believe, back
was.
in the day.
Yeah.
So I can't speak to how many similarities it's going to have to that, but I kind of envision it um, in some similar fashion. I bet they do as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, John, it's been great to catch up. Listeners should definitely subscribe to your blog. You've got an email blast that goes out whenever you write something, and it also goes up on LiChess, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And I'll be writing that new post soon about what I learned from spending 1,000 hours writing an opening course. So that would be a
Excellent.
good reason for people to subscribe to the newsletter if they want. JohnBartholomewChess.com.
Okay. And also, obviously, you can find John on YouTube and social media and check out Chessiverse and the Scandinavian in particular. Anything else, John? I think we're done, right?
I think we're done. Yeah, thanks so much, Ben. This was awesome. Thanks to your viewers, and I just wanted to congratulate you for 500 plus episodes over the years, and thanks for having me on again, third time.
Yeah, I was saying to John before we recorded that this is like episode number 460 or something like that, but then the book recaps have their separate numbers. I even missed a number somewhere along the line. I got some World Championship bonus pods, so I think we are over 500, but soon I'm going to update the webpage so someone else can actually count. But anyway, John, appreciate you taking the time, and I will see you on Chessiverse and online.
Cool. Thanks, Ben. Thanks,
Okay.
guys. Take care.
Take care.